Okay, so since we've done discussing all about the first topic, which is the decisions recognizing risk, that is also called the decisions admitting certainty. So we can now proceed with the last topic or the major topic, which is all about the decisions admitting uncertainty. So pinagkaiba nito dun sa previous natin na discussions is that yung decisions admitting uncertainty, wala tayong certain probability na pwedeng i-relate dun sa certain, let's say, outcome natin. For example, the outcome would be a poor project or a good project. Let's say meron tayong 70% good project and 30% natin would be a bad project. But in decisions admitting uncertainty, because that is still an assumption, di ba yung ginagawa natin yung mga percentage allowances, yung mga chances na yon, there are still assumptions. So dito sa decisions admitting uncertainty, we don't allow any kind of assumptions. That's why this is called the non-probabilistic technique used to solve for any project if we try to recognize the risk and then make a decision from those uncertainties. So ito yung pinakaiba nun. We're trying to remove yung mga probability natin and mga certainties na binibigyan natin yung mga chances natin sa ating mga revenues. So with that, ang gagawin natin lang dito is yung mga tinatawag natin ng mga parameters. And hopefully, alam nyo na yung parameters ito. Ito is another term lang na nagamit ito. Pero these are just the salvage value, the annual operation maintenance cost, the first cost, production rate. So ito yung mga variables lang simple natin na ginagamit sa econ wherein we can just modify them or pwede tayo magbigay ng certain values para magkaroon tayo ng different worth or let's say value or expected value from a given problem or situation. So it varies from the certain, let's say, years, and then it could also be the MARR or the interest rate. So pwede maging ganun yung mga pwede nating modify for the parameter. And the very first one, which is probably the easiest analysis, the sensitivity analysis, usually done for us to understand what happens when we try to have a certain parameter na, let's say, nag-exceed or below dun sa ating expected niya na result. For example, we are expecting na yung MAR natin is 10%. But what if a certain condition happened wherein yung MAR natin, we have something like we are forced to make it like plus 5%. So would the project still be economical, or would this alternative still be economically justifiable? So to answer that, you can perform a sensitivity analysis wherein you will try to use the new MARR, the adjusted MARR. So let's say you started with 5% and you try to compute for 10% or then 15%, 20%. So pwedeng ganon, and then you can look at the graph or just look at the point wherein we will have the decision reversal. When we say decision reversal, we're referring to any point wherein let's say from a standpoint na economically justifiable itong project na to, then after some adjustment to the parameters that we have set, magkakaroon tayo ng opposite decision na, meaning hindi na to nagiging economically justifiable. So that means that at this point, there is a decision reversal. And sensitivity implies that this mean percent change of the factors will, of course, result to the changes in the decision that you have to do. So parang ganun lang naman yan. And then in addition to that, we can do a spider plot. Of course, this is used for more complex situations wherein marami tayong ginagalaw na variables. Pero this spider plot can give you an idea of how all the factors na considered. So pwede kayo mag-plot dyan ng maraming plots, and then which of these plots could still be moved, or which of these parameters could still be moved or adjusted, which will not still guarantee the decision reversal. So itong decision reversal na to, parang actually kinocompute natin to before. If you could remember yung mga present worth natin, ginagawa natin zero just to determine kung ano ba yung number of years wherein we'll start to have the profit. So usually, this is that point sa decision reversal natin. And the difference between this sensitivity and then yung mga kinocompute natin before is that we're trying to see the changes from the interval or the range that we're given. So a sensitivity analysis in general could be summarized by these 5 steps. So first one is that we determine which parameters of interest might vary from the most likely estimated value. Again, sabi nga natin, marami tayong parameters na pwedeng iset. So we have to select one of these parameters. Sometimes you can do double parameters, pero syempre complex computation yun. So we could just select one parameter in solving, and then we make the rest being constant na lang. And then for number 2, we select the probable range and an increment of variation for each parameter. Then number 3, we select the measure of worth. The measure of worth could either be the PW or AW. Kasi yung FW, sometimes it gets a little complicated when it comes to perpetuity. So we stick with PW and AW. And then number 4, we compute the results for each parameter using the measure of worth as a basis. And then to better interpret sensitivity, though this is not required, you can graph it and then just look at the graph and you might probably see what happens when it comes to the changes in the parameters you have set. So with that being said, let's try solving for number 1. While Rice Incorporated expects to purchase a new asset for automated rice handling, most likely estimates are a first cost of 80,000, zero salvage value, and a cash flow before taxes, or this is the CFBT per year, the per year T that follows the relation 27,000 minus 2,000 T. So I think this is the first time you will be using CFBT in terms of time. So sige, maya natin show kung paano siya in-interpret. And then the MARR for the company varies from 10% to 25% per year for different types of investment. And then the economic life, so yun yung ating unang parameter dito kasi siya yung nagva-vary dito, MARR. And then the economic life of similar machinery varies from 8 to 12 years. And then that's the second parameter na pwede natin galawin, the economic life, 8 to 12 years. Evaluate the sensitivity of the present worth by varying. So ito, sinabi na sa problem. We can vary the MARR while assuming a constant N value for 10 years. So, sabi nga natin kanina, when we try to modify a certain parameter, we have to make sure that we set the other constant para ma-solve natin. That's why yung ating, yung ating economic life has been set to 10 years lang. So, yung the next one is that if we try to vary the economic life, we have to set the other parameter as constant. So, yung MAR on that case, naging 15% per year. So, ano ba yung first step natin? So, we just have to determine the first parameter dun sa step 1. And then, di ba sa A, we have set naman na MAR yung ating parameter. So, MAR ang ating gagalawin. So, start with 10. So, pwede natin gamitin is 10, 15, 20, and 25. Though, ano ba yung correct na variations dito? Actually, wala namang restrictions kung anong gusto mo. Pwede nga gawin mo dyan is 10 and then 12 and then 14. Pwede yon. But you have to make sure na, syempre, it gives you the easiest parang way. Syempre, hindi naman pwedeng 10 lang tapos 25. Parang ang ano naman nun. Paano ka ba dyan gagawa ng mga curve or certain plot if you want to have those data, diba? So for this, kapag mga multiples of 5, so okay na yung 5% natin. And then you can just determine yung mga PW natin within this range, diba? So unahin natin, let's say mag-solve tayo ng isang PW. So PW, let's say at 10%, yun yung pinakamababa natin. So, ano ba yung PW? So, di ba, you usually have the first cost which is actually negative. So, that's negative 80,000. And then, ito yung medyo magiging bago sa atin ngayon, di ba? We have the CFBT per year. And that's 27,000 minus 2,000 T. So, CFBT is something like, ito yung lahat ng mga gross income minus depreciation and then minus the taxes. So, technically, yung positive dito na value, which is 27,000, that is your parang revenue. Of course, it is with respect to the year T. So, assuming na we have 1 year as a basis, so we could say that for 27,000 in 1 year minus 2,000 times T, we have 25,000 per year. Na parang this is yung parang sure natin na revenue. So that's why we'll be using this 25,000 annual revenue na yun yung gagamitin natin. So if we want this to have it in the present, we can just multiply this by 1. Then diba 10% also, that's 1 minus 1.1 raised to negative, ano ba yung years natin? That's 10 years and then divided by 0.1. Okay, so this is the 25,000 and then projected to the present worth. And then, ano ba yung ating magiging costs dito? So, yung 2002, yun na yung magiging, magiging mga costs natin, additional costs. Pero, we have to make sure na, diba, that's annual cost and then it's increasing kasi these are from the taxes. Kasi this is CFBT. So, therefore, we could just say na we'll be using yung ating gradient in this case. Yung ating formula for the gradient, and then that certain gradient, we have to make it or bring it to the present. So we multiply this by 1 over 0.1 and then times 1.1 raised to 10 minus 1. So para ito yung future worth factor natin. Then divided by 0.1. And then we subtract n. So that's 10. And then we multiply this by 1 over 1.1 raised to 10. So this is the factor for the gradient. So ito yon. Ito lang yung sabihin nun. And then we can now solve for our PW at 10%. So the PW at 10% will give you $27,831.4934. So with this, knowing that the present worth is still positive, we could just say na the machinery is still economically justifiable with the MAR that is 10%. So yun na yung pwede natin i-conclude using 10%. But of course, since this is sensitivity analysis, we have to make sure na we compute for 10%, 15%, and then about 20%, and then 25%, and we can actually tabulate this. So let's say we have MARR that is 10%, and then 15%, then 20%, and then 25%. So using this, we can now determine the values, and ito na yon yung mga values. You can see it from here. So yan na yon. So wala tayong binago dyan na way ng computation. Pare-pares lang yan. Binabago lang natin dito is yung itong percentage yan, mga 10% na yan. Binabago lang natin yan. And from this data, so kita naman natin na sa MAR na to, at some point here sa 20%, nag-negative na yung ating PW. Hindi ba sabi natin sa PW, it has to be positive for us to justify that the market or the machinery is economically justifiable. So from this, knowing that it's already negative, then therefore, the sensitivity analysis is quite malaki yung percentage ng changes natin. Kasi as you can see from the difference between this, yung change natin is from positive to negative. So therefore, with this, we could say na the reversal of the decision happens around 20%. So therefore, the MARR is not the variable that we really have to modify because it is very sensitive with regards to the present worth of the machinery. So parang ganon. Actually, we can plot this. Ito na yung plot niya. And then as you can see, sa MAR natin, it's around 20%. So, I think this is not 20 but around 19%. So, nagkaroon na tayo ng negative na present worth. So, from this, hindi suggested na yung MAR natin is parang ma-adjust pa in that case. So, ito yung number 5. Sabi, the steep negative slope indicates that the decision to accept the proposal based on PW is quite sensitive variations in the MARR. So, yun yung sinasabi natin na MARR should not be moving really freely kasi the present worth is really quite affected ng big time dito sa ating MARR. So what if we do letter B and then we try to make the MARR constant and then gawin natin is yung n natin naman babaguhin natin. So since 8 to 12 lang to, mabilis lang yan, hindi kayo kailangan mag-increment siya ng 2 units kasi parang 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lang. So you just have to compute parang 5 years lang yan. So, you can do that. And then, kung gagawin natin siya, same, lang din, formula. So, you should be getting these values. So, dito naman, shinortcut na to, ang increment ay 2 years dito. Pero sabi ko nga, hindi naman necessary na mag-increment ka ng 2 years kasi 5 lang naman to, 5 data points. Pero syempre, kung halimbawa, this is 8 to 20, syempre, expected ka naman na mag-increment na dyan ng malaki-laki. Basta it's always up to you. So, from this, yung mga values natin, for 8 years, we have 7,000. For the present worth, for 10, that's 11. And then for 12, 13,145. So, we could just say or conclude that from this data, the present worth is always positive for whatever year that you're actually selecting. So, within the range of the problem na sinasabi na the machinery can vary from 8 to 12 years, we can therefore conclude na even though kahit anong year yan, magkaroon tayo ng economic life ng machinery, it's still profitable. Of course, assuming na 15% yung ating MARR. So, setting the MARR 15% kasi sabi natin, hindi na siya pwedeng magalaw kasi sobrang sensitive niya. So, we set that 15% na lang para at least dun pa rin, economical pa rin. So, any life in this machinery na we can consider would still be profitable. So, we can conclude na yung ating economic life, setting MARR as constant, is not really sensitive in the changes with relation to the decision reversal that we are expecting. So yun, ganun lang siya. And yun, you can also read from this that the PW curve levels out at n is equal to 10. So actually, hindi na natin dito pinlat kasi we can just see naman na if you want to like graph this, so diba, this is like 8, 10, 10, and then we have 7, 11. So the graph is something like increasing. So you have to expect na positive yung ating PW in that case. Okay, so let's have number 2. So consider a proposal to enhance the vision system used by a postal service to sort mail. The new system is expected to cost $1.1 million and will incur an additional $200,000 per year in maintenance costs. The system will produce annual savings of $500,000 each year, which is primarily by decreasing the percentage of misdirected mail and reducing the amount of mail that must be sorted manually. The MARR is 10% per year, and the study period is 5 years, at which time the system will be technologically obsolete or worthless. The PW of this proposal is, so yan, given na yung PW and how you compute, so that's negative 1.1, so that's the initial cost, and then plus 50,000 minus 200,000 multiplied by the present worth factor. The uniform series present worth factor, which is 37,236, which is at this point is actually economically justifiable kasi the PW is positive. So determine how sensitive the decision is to invest in the system. So ba yun? Pag ang ating estimates is the investment cost and annual savings. So investment costs and annual savings only means na ito yon yung investment cost. That's 11000. So gagawin natin ngayon is that we try to make the present worth equal to 0 and then determine kung ano ba yung magiging effect dapat sa investment cost. So mangyayari lang dyan, with the original equation which is like this, kailan ba tayo magkakaroon ng reversal of decision? Diba sabi natin, the reversal of the decision only happens when you have the negative PW or at PW that is equal to 0. So, syempre, nagkakaroon ng reversal sa 0 kasi alam naman natin na wala na tayong kita dun, di ba? So, from this, let's make PW equal to 0 and then sabi dito, investment cost yung ating kailangan siyang baguhin. So, from this, we could just let yung ating PW equal to 0 and then make this as our unknown. For example, the investment cost, let's say, I make this I and then we have that's plus 500,000. Syempre, i-fix natin tong mga to dito. Minus 200,000 and then we multiply this by 1 minus 1.10 raised to negative 5 over 0.1 and then yeah. So the investment cost will give us a value that's equal to 1,137,236.031 So therefore, if I want to have a present worth that is equal to 0, that is at the point where we have to make a decision reversal, the investment cost should be around 1,100,000. That's negative actually. So in short, kailangan nating increase pa yung investment cost kung gusto kong mag-0. So ano ba ngayon yung change? Kasi sabi natin, sensitivity is a measure of the change. So therefore, x, we could just represent it as x. So x is equal to, of course, yung change natin with reference to the original value. So it's like negative 1,137,236.031. So that's minus negative 1.1 times 10 to the 6 kasi million yan divided by 1.1 times 10 to the 6. So therefore, your x will give you a value that is equal to 3.385 yun, 1%. So that this should be negative. Okay? So basta it only means na yung ating x, if you try to have a 3.3851% increase in the investment cost, then you are to expect na yung inyong present worth would be equal to 0. So ganun lang yung nangyari sa sensitivity analysis in this case. And then for number 2, if you want to move the annual savings or modify the annual savings, so you make this fixed yung 1.1 million, but the savings, the annual savings, so alam naman natin na yung ating annual savings is this one kasi 500,000 siya. So you can set this as, let's say, this is your revenue. So you can set this as R and then determine the value of R. So from that R, you can determine yung Y natin, which is Y is equal to yung R natin na new minus the R, the reference, and divided by the reference. So it's like ganyan and then times 100%. So this solution kasi is simplified na into 1 plus Y and then 1 plus X. So pwede naman natin gawin yun kung gusto natin is direkta na tayo makakompute ng percentage. So yun lang yun. That's it for the sensitivity analysis, and we could just say na, or we can conclude na the decisions to change in the investment cost, any movement that is beyond 3.4% from the investment cost would yield to a reversal of decision. And for the annual savings, we can let the savings decrease by 2%. Pero hanggang dun lang yun kasi any point wherein mag-decrease pa siya below 2%, yung annual savings natin would cause decision reversal. So, ganun yung atin sa sensitivity. Basta beyond or below, kung negative siya, di below nun, and then kung positive siya, above nun. So, we're avoiding that in the sensitivity analysis. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand sensitivity analysis in this case. And then finally, we can have the decision analysis models naman.